It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future. Russia is selling oil to Asia above the $60 price cap. And maybe you can go a little bit into detail of what the price cap is and why this is a big deal.
We talked recently about this oil price cap, and it was instituted by Western countries utilizing stuff like insurance and other mechanisms to basically limit Russia from selling their oil under that essentially framework for above $60. And the thought was you'd hit the funding and cut off the war. And this has happened throughout history. I believe in the Crimean War that I think was in 1856, France and the Western countries that were battling on the side of basically the Ukrainians and the people running at Kiev at the time really tried to hit off that funding mechanism too. Russia. So back in 1856, France, mostly, it was majority France, got in, and they basically were trying to keep Russia from taking over the crumbling Ottoman Empire, who was controlling Crimea and a lot of what is now modern day Ukraine at the time. And it's eerie how we're talking about 170 years later, but so much of basically the same stuff is happening that happened in 1856, from cutting off wheat and stuff like that. This is something that's been happening over and over again. Right. So like previously in the prior Crimean sort of stuff, they try to really cut off the ability for the war machine to essentially be funded. And that's what they're doing now with this Russian price cap. But the problem is people need oil, and they need Russian oil, and it's not that easy. So we talked about how they're building a parallel system or how we expected to do that. This is basically, I'd say, a confirmation of the fact that they'll still be able to sell their oil, especially in Asia. They'll be able to build parallel markets. They'll be able to build it or sell it to Middle East. People will pay above the price cap if it makes sense. And if they're able to pay less than whatever their market rate is, then they'll do it if they can get it. Russia's building their transportation sector through that. And it's just an interesting thing. There's near-term pain, or Russia is exporting less out of their crude oil ports right now, some of their major ports, but they'll fill that in the long term and essentially build their own parallel system, which I believe is going to be a direct competitor for the US system in the same way as China's financial payment system was for our Western SWIFT. This is going to be something that we'll talk about over time. We've been talking about this price cap for I think like 6 months plus at this point. And it's just, everything's changing, or it's the same, but it's reshifting. The players are shifting, the agreements are shifting, where the money's flowing is shifting. And this is the middle of a long process. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. If you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewnextpodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.